It's a very curious day in the world of Magic the Gathering. It appears there is a hidden Groot secret lair that is spread across the different Marvel secret lairs, and there's an extra layer of mystery that comes along with it.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The magic historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for another installment of Mega Magic News. This is the Hidden Secret Lair edition because Wizards of the Coast is doing something that they've never done before. Not just obviously with the Marvel Secret Lairs being the first time that we're delving into Marvel, but also seeding what feels like the entirety of a hidden secret lair across the bonus cards of the pre-existing Marvel Secret Lairs. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the theme of the Groot secret lair that runs across the concept of all 5 different heroes from the Marvel Secret Lairs, and then after we're done looking at the cards, we're going to talk about the extra mystery that's involved. So, first thing, off to the cards. We're starting out our Grootapalooza with Abundant Groot, which is a play on the name Abundant Growth, which you can see right below it. So, 1 green for an enchantment that enchants a land. When it enters, draw a card. Enchanted land has tap. Add 1 mana of any color. So this is an enchantment that replaces itself by letting you draw a card and opens you up to every different color of mana and doesn't require that it be played specifically on a forest. So it has a lot of versatility. The flavor text says Groot is renowned as one of the best gardeners of the galaxy. This card does have some fun wordplay. The Abundant Groot plus the Gardeners of the Galaxy, obviously tying into Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a surprisingly awesome set of Marvel movies. I had no idea how much I would genuinely enjoy those films, but the wide variety of characters and the depth of the characters, including Groot, we have to take a moment to appreciate the fact that Groot literally only says 3 words. I am Groot. Over and over and over throughout the course of all of the movies. And it really does demonstrate how much can be communicated without having an expansive vocabulary. Groot is saying the same thing over and over and over, but what's happening is based on the context, the intonation, the speed at which it's said, all of that comes together to genuinely convey to you what Groot is trying to say, which is ultimately fantastic. No subtitles required. You get the feeling of it. And Groot has become a beloved character for understandable reasons. Groot is a good dude who cares about his friends, has a good heart, and we get to see different iterations of Groot. And we first meet him, he's the big hulking Groot, but then later, oh no, is Groot gone? He's been blown apart. But nope, actually he's being regrown as a teeny tiny little Groot who has some heartwarming characteristics, let's be real. So, taking a look at the artwork on this card, it actually works on multiple levels. First of all, it works as a Groot Marvel card, but it actually works as a regular Magic card too. If you didn't know anything about Guardians of the Galaxy or anything about Marvel, which feels very difficult in this current era, but if you didn't and you saw this, it would actually feel like a regular Magic card to you, right? In the middle here, you have Groot, who is essentially a tree folk, right? Or some kind of wood elemental, depending on how you want to look at it. You could consider him to be a druid too, why not? So you see him sitting here on this hill, and he has driven his fingers down into the earth. If you look closely, you can see that the roots are actually like spreading out from his fingertips, and they are infusing the land with the power of Groot, the power of growth, abundant growth. So you've got these flowers that are all coming up around him, the same size as him, framing him on either side. Like, this is fantastic artwork. You could take Groot out of it and you could put some other druid infusing mana into the land, infusing nature magic into the land, having this grow, and it would work quite well. So ultimately, this is a fantastic Magic card that taps into what feels like Magic the Gathering and what feels like Marvel in a very harmonious blend. So what do we have next? We have Regrowth. Now, some of these images aren't quite as nice looking, let's be real. It is the unfortunate reality that these bonus cards come to us as a result of the people who got their secret lairs the fastest and have taken pictures to share the enjoyment with the rest of us. But it does sometimes lead to some real blurriness. Although, it's not as bad as some of the actual leaks that we've seen where they're just nightmarishly bad. So, Regrowth is 1 green and 1 for a sorcery. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Now, Regrowth has been around since the actual genuine beginning of Magic the Gathering. It was in Alpha, and it's a very straightforward card. 2 mana will get you back any resource that you've used at all, which is super useful and super strong, honestly. For 2 mana, not too shabby at all. Although by today, like, Regrowth felt a lot stronger back in the day. The power level of Magic has moved forward to the point where it feels like powerful, but not overly powerful. At one point, Regrowth was a restricted card. You're only allowed to play 1 of it. But in today's world, it feels like you could get away with playing 4 of it, and it wouldn't be too insanely powerful. Although when they make cards like this nowadays, they tend to make it like 1 green and 1, return target permanent from your graveyard to your hand, gain 2 life, because they're trying to tie more into green, caring about creatures and less about instants and sorceries, right? So the flavor text on this one says, "Drink up, little one. It's rare I find someone who enjoys the rain as much as I do." So this is a picture of Storm literally using storm powers on Groot. Remember when I said that Groot got destroyed? And it's like, oops, no, he's still alive. Well, there's the initial version of Groot as the little potted plant dancing around. He's living his happiest life. He looks so joyous as Storm has crafted this tiny little rainstorm specifically for him. And that is, it's just a fun, cozy little piece of artwork. I would like to see this in higher resolution so I can see everything behind Storm, but it's just nice to see a couple of different joyous individuals, obviously happy for different reasons. Groot is basking in this little rainstorm that's made specifically for him, and Storm is happy to use her powers in a non-destructive way. Instead of, oh, I'm gonna level cities and destroy my enemies, it's like, yo, here we go. I can make this storm for you. Most people are like, oh, it's raining, this sucks. But Groot's like, yeah, let's go. So ultimately, this is a fun way to tie everything together. And a bunch of these cards that we're going to see are keyed in to different secret layers and feature the different Marvel characters. So this one obviously comes from the Storm secret layer, although it is possible that these might like shift around from one secret layer to another. It's not automatic. We don't have enough information yet to know for sure exactly what secret layer cards are available specifically in secret layers. And there's also the fact that Wizards of the Coast can make mistakes, like they did with the Miku secret layer, where the winter bonus card somehow made it into the spring secret layers. So there's a possibility that you could theoretically, let's say, get the Iron Man secret layer and get this Storm one. But for now, the ones that we've seen have all come from essentially the appropriate Marvel secret layer. So Storm with Storm, Iron Man with Iron Man, and so on. So the next one we have to look at here is Masterwork of Ingenuity, and this is the Captain America one. So Masterwork is 1 mana for an artifact equipment. You may have this equipment enter as a copy of any equipment on the battlefield. So this is something that gets more powerful as the years go by. The more pieces of equipment Wizards makes, the stronger this gets. The fact that this can copy any equipment, which includes your opponent's equipment, makes it stronger, and it's bonkers to me, and has always been bonkers to me, that this only costs 1 mana because it's a lot of value. Yes, you can argue that on its own, it doesn't matter. You can't play it first turn for 1 and get any other equipment because there are no other equipments out, right? So that is one limitation. But the fact that it's a copy effect that only costs 1 mana to use is very, very strong. The flavor text says, the shield is a symbol. Find what you believe in, what you stand for, and you'll have your shield too. And that's Steve Rogers' Captain America. So the flavor text in these is pretty much each different Marvel hero addressing Groot. And I very much enjoy the concept of this one, where Groot has fashioned himself a Captain America-esque shield, right? It's got a very similar design, the star in the center, the white and red rings, but it's made out of flowers grown on Groot's own body. So this isn't going to be a separate shield that he picks up. This is going to be basically his hand morphing into this or growing into this shield. And this looks more like, I wouldn't quite say adolescent Groot, right? Because we have different stages of Groot where you have the tiniest little potted plant, then you have the miniature version, and then in like the more recent stuff, he's more of almost an angsty teen, but not quite. So this feels like he's not full on baby Groot here, and now he's standing there with this sort of resolute pose. He wants to defend other people, and I mean, for real, if you're going to look at the different Avengers, at least the ones specifically that we've gotten from the secret Lair drop, Captain America is a very admirable individual. The guy always does what's right. He's not like Iron Man. He's not self-aggrandizing. He doesn't have morals that may shift one way or the other. His moral compass unerringly points northwards, right? So you can see why Groot would look at that and be like, okay, I want to emulate this. And ultimately just the way the shield is held up, the upturned face, everything about this conveys that I am inspired by and want to be Captain America. So this is an excellent execution, and the whole concept that this can be any equipment is illustrated by Groot being able to emulate the gear of his chosen hero. Next, we have Unnatural Growth. Now, this is a card that I absolutely love, absent of the fact, the artwork, anything else, just from a power perspective. I love big, dumb green cards, and this is big and dumb and makes all your guys big and dumb. 4 green and 1, so it's limited to green decks. Good luck playing this if you're playing like 3 colors. I mean, I guess if you have a bunch of dual lands and stuff, you can still make it work. But these casting costs are incredibly restrictive and designed to keep it to mostly things like mono green. So what do you get for 5 mana? You get an enchantment that says, at the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. And that happens on your turn and your opponent's turn. So your guys are beefcaked on the defense as well, which is super fantastic. The flavor text says, that's supposed to be me, bub. And that's obviously a quote from Wolverine, because you take a look at the artwork and he's emulating Wolverine. He's got his 3 little schnick little claws, I should say, coming out of his hand. Rah, he's got the little angry pose. Bam, one leg bent out like I'm ready to leap at you. And he even emulates Logan's crazy hairstyle with the with the leaves. So this has a fun little vibe. It almost comes across like as a cosplay, as a Halloween costume. It doesn't transmit the same energy that the Captain America one that we just saw did, but ultimately it is a fun little tribute to the concept of, yo, I'm gonna be like the different Avengers, the different heroes from the different secret layers, all this kind of stuff. The X-Men, if you want to talk about Wolverine from that perspective, right? Because he doesn't really fall under the Avengers umbrella, unless at some point he joined them that I'm not aware of, right? Because I haven't seen every single crossover. And when it comes to the comic book industry, there's a million things going on. But either way, upon glancing at it, you instantly get the concept of Wolverine. So it transmits that. This is a super exciting reprint for me, just from the perspective of, yo, this is an awesome, powerful card. And Groot wanting to be Wolverine. I mean, let's be real. The only thing that doesn't make sense with Groot here is the unnatural growth part of the name, because Groot is a natural being. What he's growing out of him is natural too. So, but the idea of him becoming twice as strong, emulating Wolverine's ferocity, definitely comes across. So I vibe on this quite a bit. Then we've got Nature's Lore, and there's just something about this. When I see the artwork, my brain starts playing that Disney song, like from Aladdin, where I can show you the world. Like that's just every time. Literally, when I clicked over to it just now, my brain started with that. So, Nature's Lore is 1 green and 1 for a sorcery that says, search your library for a forest card, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. This was originally in Ice Age, and this one is interesting in terms of the land searching cards because, first of all, it doesn't say basic forest. So you can use this to go and get shock lands, you can go and use this to get dual lands. On top of that, it also doesn't make the land come into play tapped. So you can use the land right away, which makes it ultra acceleration. The flavor text says, and we can't see 100% of it, but it looks like for years, Wakanda hid in isolation. But alongside newfound allies, it grows something, right? So the idea is pretty straightforward. Wakanda was an isolated society. They kept themselves secret, I believe, because they were the world's foremost place that you could mine up vibranium. And they also have the special flowers that grant the Black Panther powers. They burned all those away in the most recent Black Panther movie. Or not the most recent, I should say the first Black Panther movie. They burned all those flowers away, but I don't think that precludes there being new Black Panthers because they can just go, we genetically re-engineered the plants, or we found a crop of them actually growing on some hidden mountainside, right? So Wakanda was hidden for most of the time and then became known to the world. And then they said, hey, we're going to come and change the world. That's what they said in the first Black Panther movie. But it doesn't look like they actually brought their technology or helped the world. They just mention it at the end of the movie. And then it never seemed to have any effect on any of the other Marvel movies, right? I'll be very real with you that Black Panther is the least exciting of all of the Marvel superheroes that I have become accustomed to seeing in movies and things like that. He has powers, right? He was granted powers by his flower, but ultimately he just never really stood out to me as a super epic character. And in this artwork, you can see that Groot, I mean, is he trying to be Black Panther? He doesn't look like it. I mean, how do you look like Black Panther, really? Like, how can he transform? Black Panther doesn't have unique gear that he uses that everybody knows. It's his look that's unique, right? His crazy, similar to Batman-esque suit, but covering up the mouth, and then he's got that necklace. But Black Panther, he doesn't stand out the same way. So I guess it's just harder to show Groot trying to be him. So instead, you have Groot explaining to him, showing him the wonders of Wakanda. Is this supposed to be Black Panther taking Groot around on a tour, and Groot's just like, whoa, look at that. Honestly, the artwork looks very idyllic, right? It's got a very comfortable vibe to it. It looks like Black Panther might have been swinging along Tarzan style with Groot on his shoulder. But the waterfalls on the cliff behind, where you've got the greenery up top, the waterfall, then it's cascading down onto like a second waterfall. So it's like a multi-tiered waterfall. This looks like it would be beautiful. And they're standing up like pretty high in one of the trees as well. So I imagine the view is quite incredible. So this is a solid reprint with very enjoyable artwork, but it does feel like the least cohesive in terms of all of the I'm trying to be this hero version that Groot is doing on the other cards. So let's move on to the next one. We've got Sculpting Steel. So this is the Iron Man one. 3 casting cost artifact. You may have this artifact enter as a copy of any artifact on the battlefield. So similar to what I said about the masterwork of ingenuity, but 3 mana feels far more appropriate when it comes to a copy effect, especially when you can copy any artifact. I mean, this can work exactly the same as masterwork of ingenuity because you can copy any equipment since every equipment is by its nature an artifact, but you can use it to be anything else as well. So Sculpting Steel is a very solid card that's seen a number of reprints. I enjoyed the initial flavor text for Sculpting Steel where it talks about the first artificer who made it basically dropped it in a vault full of coins, and then the Sculpting Steel took on the form of one of those coins, and they couldn't figure out which one it was because it's indistinguishable. Once you have the Sculpting Steel take on a form, it is permanently in all ways that particular object, right? Which is really cool. So in this case, you look at the flavor text, it says "I am Groot," Groot stated. "Yes," Tony replied, "but have you considered being Iron Man?" And that does feel very Tony Stark-esque, right? Where it's like, in other situations, Groot is choosing like, yo, check it out, I'm Wolverine. He's like, is that supposed to be me? Captain America, he's like, I've got a shield. Captain America is bestowing advice upon him, right? Like, all of these kind of things are more centered around Groot. But of course, Tony Stark has to make it about himself. He's like, yeah, no, I know you're Groot, but have you considered being Iron Man, right? Because being Iron Man is pretty awesome. And then you have the actual, I assume this is some component of Jarvis, right? Jarvis is the AI that helps Tony Stark out. It's his assistant that operates all his machinery and stuff. So I assume that it operates this particular gear, and they're building an Iron Man suit on Groot, like as he stands there amazed. Groot doesn't really look like Groot here. He looks like a weird little alien because with just his face there, you can't really see his natural body. So he's coated in, I guess it's the underlying black metal that goes under the red layering. I'm not sure if this is just being like recolored or reconfigured, but it looks like it's almost being like printed onto his body. So it's got that Iron Man high-tech feel. And you can see the little glowing core that represents that thing that Iron Man has. I can't remember the name of it, but he's got it like literally in there that keeps his heart going. So you've got something indicating that in the Iron Man armor. And you can also see his hands glowing, where Groot now, like normally Groot does everything with nature power. So now all of a sudden it can be a bam, 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 and he can fire these super power blast. So that's pretty funky overall. And I think that this really does transmit the flavor of Iron Man, and the wonder on Groot's face is quite enjoyable. So I mentioned at the beginning of the video that there is another mysterious layer to this Groot, like kind of hidden secret layer we have going on here. So let's talk about that now. So the mystery revolves around the fact that there are actually 6 bonus secret layer cards for these Marvel secret layers so far. And actually, it's highly likely that there are even more than that. So when we look at what we've got, you might have noticed, hey, wait a minute. 5 of the secret layer bonus cards we saw all specifically tie into the themes that they have for each secret layer. And by that, I mean you literally have a Wolverine card. You have a Captain America card, an Iron Man card, right? Except one of the cards we looked at doesn't have that at all. Abundant Groot is literally just Groot on his own, and the flavor text specifically references Guardians of the Galaxy, well, a pun on them, but it doesn't have anything to do with the 5 heroes. And if you take it a step further and actually take a look at the collector numbers on these cards, they start with the last 2 digits 6-3, but go all the way up to 70. So that means that's a span of 8 cards. But we've only seen 6 cards. So there are going to be at least 2 more Groot-themed bonus cards that we have not seen yet. And part of this boils down to the fact that most of these Marvel secret layers haven't made their way out into players' hands yet. So we don't have all of the information, but you can definitely see that the Groot cards start at 63 and go to 70, which means a bare minimum of 2 more cards exist, and there theoretically could be even more than that. And in the past, we have seen Wizards of the Coast go for a theme with the secret layer bonus cards, but the theme was more loose. And by that, I mean, we had a theme like, we have a bunch of random elves that we've shoved in here. We have a bunch of random slivers that we've shoved in here, but also there'll be a weird pigeon card, or there will be a weird rat card as 1 or 2 of them. But everything that we're seeing for this is all Groot based. And honestly, the secret layer elves and sliver stuff might have been done so that Wizards of the Coast could hold back the bonus cards for that special advent calendar thing that they did, where they had 30 different special secret layer cards. They might have pulled a card from every layer that was supposed to be the bonus card and repurposed them for that product. But both the elves and the slivers felt like they were a last minute, not really thought out kind of addition to secret layers, where all of these cards specifically have a Groot theme. And it really feels like the idea is it is a hidden Groot secret layer that runs across all of the secret layers. And so the real mystery becomes, what are the cards that we don't know about? How many bonus cards are there entirely? And did Wizards of the Coast do the unthinkable and make a functionally unique Groot card that is the bonus card to be the face of the secret lair? And if you don't know what I mean when I'm saying that, when it comes to these secret lairs they just released, if you look at the Iron Man or the Storm or anything like that, they are brand new cards to Magic the Gathering. The Abundant Groot that we saw is a reskin of Abundant Growth. And all of the secret lair bonus cards that we've looked at so far are reprints, just most of them have their original names. Sculpting Steel, Masterwork of Ingenuity, those are the actual names of the original cards. But if one of the bonus cards is an ultra rare Groot that is literally a brand new card with new abilities, that is going to cause a massive spike in demand and an uproar. People will be upset that, yo, you didn't tell us ahead of time we had a chance of getting this stuff. People will feel left out in the cold and go, but man, I want to build a Groot commander deck. It will be a big deal, a massive deal. So Wizards may intentionally be doing that to create this spike of activity, and then they can point and say, look it, not only did this product sell out, but afterwards people are in a furor to get it. But I want to let you know that there's an incredibly good chance that when we get the next Marvel set, not the Spider-Man set that's coming out in 2025, right? That's the first Marvel set. The second Marvel set that we get could very easily reprint all of these guys. So I'm talking the Wolverine, Captain America, Storm, all of them. They could easily reprint those functionally unique cards in that Marvel set with different artwork. They won't look the same as they do in the secret lair, but we could get the exact same guys, which means the same thing could happen with Groot. So if it turns out that they do make a functionally unique Groot, he will be extremely difficult to acquire at first, but then when they announce the new Marvel set, they can go, great news, we literally have reprinted these secret lair cards in this set. And Wizards of the Coast has already specifically talked about how going forwards, they're not making any more promises to do universe within versions of Universe Beyond, but they said specifically we can reprint Universe Beyond stuff in other Universe Beyond products. So the Marvel Secret Lairs are Universe Beyond. The Marvel set will be Universe Beyond. So if it turns out that this Groot shows up, don't panic. There's a very good chance that we'll be seeing it in an upcoming set, so you will have an opportunity to get your hands on it. So for me, I actually quite enjoy this level of mystery, and I'm a big fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think Groot is a pretty deep and interesting character overall with the different layers that we've seen throughout the different movies. So I'm curious to see where we go from here, what the other bonus cards are. Keep your eyes peeled, because when I find out what those bonus cards are, I will include them in a future video so we can discuss that as well. Thanks for coming by and hearing what I have to say. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments. A big shout out to all of my channel members and my patrons for supporting my channel. You guys rule, and I will see you all in the next video.